Shortly before 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning in January of 2023, Tuscaloosa police responded to a reported shooting outside Bryant-Denny Stadium near the University of Alabama campus. Upon arriving at the scene, officers found 23-year-old Jamia Jonay Harris dead from a gunshot wound in the passenger seat of a car. In the driver's seat was a wounded man named Cedric Johnson, who had also been shot but was still alive. The victims had been struck during a shootout between Johnson and a man named Michael Davis, the latter of whom had obtained the gun he used from University of Alabama basketball player Darius Miles. According to witnesses, Davis had no official affiliation with the team but came around often because he was friends with Miles. Both suspects were charged with murder, and Davis was found guilty in May of this year despite his argument that he was defending himself against Johnson. He was sentenced to life while Miles remains in custody as he awaits trial, which has been delayed indefinitely following the defense's recent motion to stay the proceedings. Miles's attorneys are challenging a previously denied motion for the judge to recuse himself from the case based on their argument that he showed a bias toward the defendant. The hearings will resume after an appellate court decides on the matter. Number 22. Quaydarius Davis. In an alarming act of domestic violence that was captured on video, a former Southern University football player was seen breaking down the door of his girlfriend's apartment in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and strangling the victim. The footage surfaced online during the spring of 2025, leading to further investigation, which resulted in the arrest of 22-year-old Quaydarius Davis. According to law enforcement, Davis forced his way inside and choked the victim, Jayuna Monet, until she fell unconscious. He then took several items and fled the scene. The incident took place just months after Davis was dismissed from Southern's football team for breaking team rules, although the nature of the offense that led to his dismissal is unknown. In an Instagram post, Monet said that Davis attacked her simply because she didn't want to be with him anymore. She vowed to follow through with pressing charges and adamantly stated that she would not be getting back together with her attacker, who was charged with first-degree burglary and domestic abuse by strangulation. The case appears to be ongoing, leaving the future of Davis's football career unclear. Number 21. Isaiah Wright and Camion Patrick. In September of 2017, brothers Isaiah Wright and Camion Patrick, both former East Mississippi Community College football players, were arrested in Louisville, Tennessee, for the stabbing death of 18-year-old Caleb Radford. Prosecutors accused Wright, Patrick, and two other defendants, Keyshawn Hopewell and Ittick Green, of killing Radford during a marijuana deal gone awry. The case against Camion Patrick was dropped the following year, and in 2019, Wright struck a plea deal in exchange for leniency. He agreed to help prosecutors build their case against Hopewell and Green, and pleaded guilty to a reduced count of facilitation of aggravated robbery in exchange for a 5-year probation sentence. As part of the agreement, Wright was also required to provide truthful information about his brother's involvement in the crime. Hopewell and Green were each convicted of second-degree murder and especially aggravated robbery, resulting in 40-year prison sentences for both. Number 20. Michael Egwuagu. Just days into the 2020 new year, former University of Texas football player Michael Egwuagu was arrested for the murder of his sister, 32-year-old Jennifer Chiamoa Ebichi, who had been stabbed to death just days earlier. Reports stated that a witness arrived at the crime scene in Pflugerville to find Egwuagu smiling while holding a bloody knife. He confessed to killing Ebichi, and the admission was captured on doorbell camera footage. Inside the home, the witness found Ebichi lying motionless in a pool of blood while her young child cried nearby. Ebichi's twin brother told news outlets that Egwuagu had made unusual statements and appeared to be suffering some sort of crisis on the day of the murder, and that he was behaving strangely at the crime scene, where he was seen kneeling in prayer in the street. In July of 2020, just months after his arrest, Egwuagu was found not guilty by reason of insanity following a bench trial in Travis County. He was remanded to the custody of a state mental hospital for further evaluation and treatment. Number 19. Ahkil Nasir Crumpton. During the spring of 2022, former University of Georgia wide receiver Ahkil Nasir Crumpton was arrested in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for killing a convenience store clerk near Watkinsville, Georgia, a year earlier. The victim, 23-year-old Elijah Wood, was mercilessly gunned down by a suspect clad in all black who entered a racetrack store at around 1:15 a.m. and shot him once in the chest with a Glock pistol. Wood, who was FaceTiming with his girlfriend at the time of the shooting, died at the scene. His assailant fled the store without taking any money or stealing any items. The incident was captured on surveillance video, but the shooter's identity remained a mystery until bullet casings from the crime scene turned up as a match to ballistic evidence found at the scene of another homicide that took place in Philadelphia. During Crumpton's trial for Wood's murder, a former teammate testified that Crumpton had confessed to shooting Wood, stating that he said he had wanted money and that the gun just went off. In March of 2024, Crumpton was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison for attempted robbery and gun charges. He still faces state-level charges for Wood's murder and is currently awaiting trial. Number 18. Colbie Young. During the early morning hours of October 8th, 2024, police in Athens, Georgia, responded to a domestic violence call involving Georgia Bulldogs football team member Colbie Young, who is accused of assaulting his pregnant ex-girlfriend. The 20-year-old alleged victim told officers that she went to Young's apartment at around midnight to discuss their relationship and that the discussion took a turn for the worse after she discovered that Young was on the phone with another woman. She accused Young of forcefully dragging her out of his bedroom, then charging at her from behind and squeezing her midsection hard enough to make her think that he was trying to hurt her. Young reportedly denied causing his ex-girlfriend's injuries but was arrested on suspicion of battery and assault of an unborn child. He maintained his innocence through his defense attorney, who told ESPN that Young had asked his ex-girlfriend to leave his apartment and that his client never made any physical contact with the victim. The attorney stated that he expected Young to be fully exonerated, but the case ended in a plea deal in March of 2025, with Young pleading no contest to disorderly conduct in exchange for 1 year of probation. Number 17. Michael Roen McCullough. In a domestic violence incident described in news articles as disturbing, former Ohio State football player Michael Roen McCullough was arrested in Columbus during the late summer of 2025 for assaulting and strangling his girlfriend. According to reports, McCullough was accused of punching the alleged victim several times, then grabbing her by the throat and pushing her against a window, leaving her with a black eye and bruises on her neck. Officers responded to the scene at around 9 p.m. on August 29th and spoke with the victim, who explained that she and McCullough had gotten into an argument hours earlier while driving home. During the fight that ensued, McCullough allegedly broke the woman's phone and violently attacked her. The victim said that she did not remember what happened after being choked and that she only regained consciousness after they arrived back at McCullough's home. 25-year-old McCullough was detained on suspicion of felony strangulation and has since been indicted on the charge, along with a misdemeanor domestic violence count. He's currently free after posting a $50,000 bond, and the case is ongoing. Number 16. Jacob Thomas Frye and Thomas Landon Grant. In June of 2019, two Alabama Community College baseball players were accused of senselessly beating a helpless Muscovy duck on campus the previous month. According to authorities, Jacob Thomas Frye and Thomas Landon Grant took the bird out of a pond, beat it with a bat, then took it to an apartment to put it out of its misery. The duck was found clinging to life in the woods and was euthanized after a veterinarian determined that its injuries were too severe for it to be saved. Frye and Grant were charged with felony aggravated animal cruelty following a weeks-long investigation. Grant was arrested in the city of Alexander, where the incident took place, and was released after posting a $5,000 bond. Frye turned himself in the same day, and both suspects were reportedly granted youthful offender status. The case made national news headlines but quickly went quiet following the arrests, leaving the outcome unclear. Number 15. Daniel Mincey. Just hours before a scheduled football game against the University of South Florida, in November of 2025, two University of Alabama players were stabbed on campus at the college's football operations building. Defensive linemen Josiah Peterson and Joshua Underwood were taken to the hospital for their injuries, while their accused assailant, teammate Daniel Mincey, was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder and assault. 20-year-old Mincey pleaded not guilty to the charges and is currently free on bond. According to an update that was released several days after his arrest, his public defender is seeking a speedy trial and has demanded the preservation of all evidence. The circumstances surrounding the incident remain unclear, and the victims have since been released from the hospital. Number 14. JT Lindsey. A Louisiana State University running back's future is in jeopardy as he faces criminal charges for being an accessory after the fact to second-degree murder. Freshman JT Lindsey is accused of allowing 17-year-old Shamel Jacobs and 18-year-old Keldrick Jordan to stay in his dorm following the murder of 17-year-old Corey Brooks. Lindsey is reportedly friends with Jacobs and Jordan, with all three hailing from the hometown of Alexandria. According to reports, Jacobs and Jordan fatally shot Brooks in Alexandria in May of this year. They remained on the run until early August, when U.S. Marshals located them inside Lindsey's campus apartment, where they had been seen coming and going several times since late July. Inside the apartment, law enforcement found several firearms, including two AR-15s and the Glock In a statement following Lindsey's arrest, his defense attorney asserted that Lindsey was unaware that his friends were wanted for murder. He said his client denies any involvement in the crimes that Jacobs and Jordan are accused of, and that Lindsey would not have allowed his friends to stay at his apartment if he had known of the allegations against them. Lindsey posted a $5,000 bond and is currently free amid the ongoing case, but has been suspended from participating in the university's athletics pending the outcome of the matter. Number 13. Blaise Taylor. After graduating from college, former Arkansas State football player Blaise Taylor landed prestigious jobs as a scout for the Tennessee Titans and an analyst for Texas A&M University, but his blossoming career came to a screeching halt in early 2024 when he was accused of fatally poisoning his pregnant girlfriend the previous year. The incident in question took place in late February of 2023 when Taylor called 911 and said that his girlfriend, Jay Benin, appeared to be suffering an allergic reaction. Benin, who was 5 months along in her pregnancy at the time, was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Both she and her unborn child died within days. After a months-long investigation, authorities concluded that Benin had ingested so much cocaine that the amount could not be considered recreational, leading to the suspicion that Taylor had purposely poisoned her and the baby. Following his arrest in March of 2024 for 2 counts of first-degree murder, Taylor posted 10% of a $2.5 million bond and was released from custody. His trial was initially scheduled for October of 2025, but the case appears to be ongoing. Number 12. Teshaun Hightower. In a complex case that has dragged its heels through the criminal justice system for 5 years and counting, former Tulane University basketball player Teshaun Hightower was arrested in Georgia in April of 2020 for the shooting death of 24-year-old Davonte Neal, who succumbed to his injuries after being dropped off at an emergency room in Stockbridge. Hightower had recently declared for the NBA draft when he and his brother Jeffrey were charged with felony murder, aggravated assault, battery, and possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony. The star athlete's defense attorney, Walker, was quick to assert his client's innocence, telling ESPN that Jeffrey Hightower had pulled the trigger and that he was acting in self-defense. Walker went on to say that Jeffrey fired the fatal gunshot to protect Teshaun, and he accused law enforcement of falsely portraying his innocent client as a monster. Teshaun and Jeffrey Hightower are among 6 suspects who are charged in connection with the case, which has gone eerily quiet in the news. Henry County jail records show that Teshaun is still in pretrial detention, indicating that the case is ongoing. Number 11. Khayla Dawson. After nearly landing a spot on the U.S. Women's Olympic shot put team, former Indiana University track star Khayla Dawson has landed behind bars on a murder charge for stabbing an Uber driver to death. The 27-year-old was arrested in El Paso County, Colorado, in late October of this year following the disappearance of 38-year-old rideshare driver Jeremy Campbell. Dawson was brought in for questioning after investigators determined that she was the last customer that Campbell had picked up prior to vanishing. She initially told police that she had summoned the Uber for a friend, but later confessed to stabbing Campbell to death and stealing his car, telling detectives that she felt cooped up, wanted to get out of the house and wanted to go for a joyride. Dawson claimed that she stabbed Campbell after falling asleep in the car and waking up to him touching her inappropriately. She admitted to dumping his body in a field in Eastonville before driving his car back to her apartment in Colorado Springs, where police found Campbell's wallet hidden inside a kitchen cabinet. The accused killer is being held without bond on charges of first-degree murder, aggravated robbery, second-degree motor vehicle theft, and tampering with evidence. Number 10. Davonte Neal. In a case that left members of the college athletics community shocked, former University of Arizona cornerback Davonte Neal was working as an assistant football coach at Idaho State University when he was arrested for a 5-year-old murder in 2022. He was accused in the shooting death of 25-year-old Bryan T. Burns, who was gunned down along Interstate 10 in Tempe, Arizona, in November of 2017. Neal was taken into custody following a grand jury indictment on charges of first-degree murder, drive-by shooting, and discharging a firearm at a structure. His arrest stunned his colleagues and superiors, including ISU Athletics Director Pauline Theros, who said that the coach Neal worked as an assistant for had never suspected him of any crimes. In September of 2024, Neal pleaded guilty to a reduced second-degree murder charge. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison, bringing his once budding sports career to an unceremonious end. Number 9. Kenan Gay. A law student's promising future was put on hold in March of 2012 when he was accused of murdering a man during a bar fight in North Carolina. According to prosecutors, 23-year-old former University of North Carolina football player Kenan Gay flew into a rage at a pub in Charlotte after a fellow former college athlete, 30-year-old Robert Kingston III, touched his girlfriend. During the fight that ensued, Gay shoved Kingston out of the door and into the path of an oncoming car. Kingston died at the scene after being run over, and Gay was subsequently charged with second-degree murder. Surveillance footage reportedly showed Gay escorting Kingston out of the bar by his collar just moments before Kingston was mowed down. Gay's defense attorney claimed that his client had no intention to kill Kingston, but that the bar happened to be very close to the road. This argument was supported by the tavern's owner, who described the look on Gay's face as shocked and surprised, rather than satisfied. Gay maintained his innocence throughout the case and was acquitted of all charges following a jury trial in June of 2014. Number 8. William Riley Gaul. High school cheerleader Emma Walker was sound asleep in her bedroom at her family's Knox County, Tennessee home in November of 2016 when someone shot her through her window and killed her. The following day, police arrested the teen's boyfriend, NCAA Division III 18-year-old William Riley Gaul, for Walker's murder. Walker had recently broken up with Gaul due to his aggressive behavior, according to the victim's family and friends, who described the accused killer of being toxic and possessive throughout the relationship. Prior to Walker's murder, Gaul had employed a number of tactics in his attempts to win her back, including pretending he had been kidnapped as a ploy to garner the young woman's sympathy. Following her death, he was charged with first-degree murder, felony murder, tampering with evidence, reckless endangerment, stalking, theft, and possession of a firearm during a felony. In May of 2018, a jury found Gaul guilty of all counts, resulting in a sentence of 51 years to life in prison. Gaul fought to overturn his conviction in 2021 in hopes of being granted a new trial, but was unsuccessful. Number 7. Avantae Williams. Complete chaos broke out at McCabe's bar in DeLand, Florida during the early morning hours on May 3rd when a gunman opened fire inside the building during a fistfight between several men, striking 32-year-old Kashod Harris 7 times in the chest. The shooting occurred just seconds after Harris was last seen talking with some friends, and the panicked crowd quickly dispersed in all directions. Harris died from his injuries while a bartender was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening wounds. The suspected shooter, former Miami Hurricanes safety Avantae Williams, had fled the scene by the time police arrived at around 1:30 a.m. Law enforcement caught up to the 24-year-old 3 days later, and he remains in custody at the Volusia County Jail on a second-degree murder charge. Before his life took a wrong turn, Williams was named the top safety recruit in the country, but he was let go from the Hurricanes for allegedly assaulting a pregnant woman, and his career never recovered. He was also arrested in 2024 in a separate case for robbery, burglary, and aggravated battery, but avoided any serious convictions. Number 6. Decensae White. 25-year-old San Francisco State University basketball player Decensae White had just finished his senior year when he was arrested in April of 2013 for his alleged role in the shooting death of a Georgia rapper. The victim, Melvin Vernell III, also known by the stage name Lil Fat, was gunned down outside a Fulton County, Georgia hospital in June of 2012 while on his way to visit his pregnant girlfriend, who was preparing to give birth. Investigators traced the crime to 5 suspects whom they described as business associates who allegedly conspired to kill Vernell over drug-related disputes and other dealings gone awry. Included among White's co-accused were Maurice Connor, DeAndre Washington, Gary Bradford, and a Russian mobster named Manny Chulaev. White's father, David, expressed shock at news of the arrest, describing his son as the most non-violent person I've ever known in my life. And while it's true that White may not have pulled the trigger, he knew enough about the crime to turn state's witness in exchange for leniency. He testified at trial that Maurice Connor and DeAndre Washington were directly responsible for Vernell's murder and received an 8-year prison sentence in exchange for his cooperation. Number 5. Kamiyah Street. At one point in time, Kennesaw State University women's basketball player Kamiyah Street looked forward to a successful upcoming sports career, but her future plans were derailed in November of 2019 when she was arrested for murdering a man several months earlier. The victim, 21-year-old Nasheem Hubbard Etienne, was shot dead in the parking garage of an apartment complex during the early morning hours of July 16th when 3 suspects approached the vehicle and opened fire. 20-year-old Street was among 5 defendants between the ages of 20 and 22 who were charged in connection with the case, which also included Jonathan Gilstrap, Tobias Wells, Cortez Banks, and Dontavius Brantley. Street reportedly admitted to her role in the killing after being shown video evidence of her involvement in the crime. Records show that she was convicted of voluntary manslaughter, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during a felony, and a felony criminal attempt charge. She's currently serving a 25-year prison term with a projected release date of November 5th, 2044. Number 4. Carlton Champion Jr. In a horrifying tragedy that has become all too commonplace in the black transgender community, 24-year-old Ty Underwood was found murdered in a crashed car in Tyler, Texas in January of 2015. She had been shot multiple times, and investigators traced her last known contact to a Texas college football player named Carlton Champion Jr., who was charged weeks later with first-degree murder. In the hours leading up to Underwood's death, she and Champion had exchanged text messages about their plans to meet up. The two had reportedly been seeing one another for a while, but their relationship had become strained. Evidence showed that Underwood had cancelled a previously planned meeting with Champion, who was accused of killing Underwood out of a fear that she would out him to his teammates by revealing her status as a transgender woman. In December of 2015, a Smith County jury found Champion guilty of Underwood's murder, resulting in a life sentence without parole. He vowed that he would someday be back on the street as he was handcuffed and led away by officers, but prison records show that this is not the case. Number 3. George Huguely. After enduring 2 years of abuse at the hands of her on and off boyfriend, 22-year-old Yeardley Love ended her relationship with former University of Virginia lacrosse player George Huguely for good. She was just 2 weeks away from graduating from college when she was found beaten to death in her apartment in May of 2010. According to authorities, Huguely kicked in Love's bedroom door and killed her during a day of extremely heavy drinking. He was reportedly so intoxicated that he barely remembered what he had done, but a close look into the relationship's troubled history revealed glaringly obvious warning signs about his capacity for violence. Huguely was known to drink excessively, which often led to aggressive behavior and had a straining effect on his relationship with Love. Prior to Love's murder, he had been accused of strangling Love at a lacrosse victory party, and Love's movements in the aftermath of the incident showed that she was trying to get away from Huguely in the months leading up to her death. Following his trial in 2012, Huguely was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years in prison. He argued for early release but was denied and remains behind bars with a projected release date in 2030. Today's topic was requested by Strip Club King TX. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Charles Escalera. During the early morning hours one Saturday in February of 2024, college wrestler Josiah Kilman was found unresponsive in his dorm room at Campbellsville University in central Kentucky. The 18-year-old theology major from Columbia Falls, Montana had been strangled to death, and detectives were quick to discover clues to his killer's identity in the form of a book bag belonging to 21-year-old fellow wrestler Charles Escalera, which had been left behind at the scene. Escalera was further implicated in Kilman's murder via surveillance footage from a local Walmart store, which showed him stealing shoes and a backpack before going on the run. 17 hours into the investigation, police apprehended Escalera while responding to a call about a suspicious person in a barn. Escalera reportedly admitted to attacking Kilman, but pleaded not guilty to charges of murder, burglary, and theft by unlawful taking. He remains held on a $1 million bond amid the ongoing case. Number 1. The murder of Bryan Patter. 22-year-old Miami Hurricanes football player Bryan Patter had visions of someday going pro, but he never got a chance to live his dream. He was just months away from possibly being drafted into the NFL when he was shot dead in 2006. While exiting his SUV outside his off-campus apartment, the investigation into Patter's murder dragged on for 15 years, during which time authorities released very little information to the public. An arrest was finally made in August of 2021 when authorities announced charges against Patter's former teammate Rashawn Jones, who had long denied any involvement in the crime. In a statement posted to Twitter, Detective Juan Segovia said that the case was finally solved after the right tip came in, causing the pieces to fall into place. More specifically, authorities credited a key witness for coming forward with long-awaited information that enabled them to bring the case full circle. Jones pleaded not guilty and was scheduled to go to trial in October of 2025. Records show that the case is ongoing. The accused killer remains behind bars as he awaits his next hearing, which is scheduled for January 29th of 2026. Thanks for watching. If you could play any sport professionally, what sport would you choose and why?